The name's Sherlock Holmes and the address is 221B Baker Street.
I'm a consulting detective of some repute. Perhaps you've heard of me. My name is Sherlock.
Welcome to the first episode of Body Language Hackers. As go the age-old traditions, we want to begin our analysis of classics by the best classic character we know, Sherlock Holmes, a master of observation and deduction, crucial for any body language hacker. So, who do you think makes the better Sherlock, Robert Downey Jr. or Benedict Cumberbatch? Let's analyze them to find out. Both of the Sherlocks have their signature style of conversing naturally with people, but how do they differ with the use of their body language? Let's analyze. Robert Downey Jr. has a more expressive demeanor. His favorite seems to be the eyebrow raise. When he's conversing with people, as you can see here, he tends to lean towards people, showing that he is comfortable around them. He also tends to turn his head towards the person he's having a conversation with. Do you see how he maintains a significant eye contact with all the people in the group? Now coming to Cumberbatch. This Sherlock has a very different style indeed, as we will analyze scene by scene. For conversations, Cumberbatch almost never turns himself towards people, giving an impression that he's not bonded with many. What is unmissable is his amazing smile when he is amused or happy. Notice the way the neck turns up, giving a feeling that he walks around with his nose up in the air. Usually a frequently exposed neck can make one vulnerable. In Sherlock's case though, this is his style of showing that he's self-confident. Conclusion. Who is better? Cumberbatch wins here hands down. After all, Sherlock is known to be high-headed and socially distant from most people. So, how do the Sherlocks tell us that they are in the process of deduction, of absorbing the tons of information floating around them to make sense of what is relevant and what is noise? Let's watch Robert Downey Jr.'s way of taking in information. What does he do? Watch the eye focus shift away into the distance, often looking upwards. What is noteworthy is the very rare use of hand gestures when he speaks. In fact, watch how he folds up his hands so that he can focus his attention to his thoughts. Like here. But does he reveal when he likes something? Apparently so. Look at him lean in when a subject of interest is brought up. So, how about Cumberbatch? See the tightly squeezed eyes trying to recollect information? After all, he is Sherlock. There's nothing which he cannot figure out. And here, the classic flutter of the eyelids used frequently when he's trying to process the observations he's making. This one's challenging, but let's give it to Robert Downey Jr. for bringing out more body language variations to show what he's thinking about. Gathering information is not all, is it? The classic Sherlock is the one who puts two and two together, solves the puzzle, and unveils it to us, the viewer. So how did the Sherlocks reveal that they are deducing? Robert Downey Jr. is very transparent in indicating to the audience that he is observing to make deductions. We can see his eyes and face move around when he is watching, and we can guess what he is looking at. Here, his entire body moves around while he observes. Coming to Cumberbatch, he is shown to be a discreet observer, often looking from the corner of his eye, showing minimal movement so that the subject does not become aware that he is being observed. Observe how he reveals deductions to his client. There is direct eye contact with the subject, as if he wants to watch the reaction of the person's body language in order to understand whether the deductions he is making are correct or not. Here is Sherlock himself revealing how he picks up body language signals to make sense of the anti-hero. So, the conclusion. Cumberbatch surely scholars here, since a discreet style is what makes for a great observer. So, is Sherlock vulnerable? Note that we're not talking about the times when Sherlock is majorly in a bad mood, just everyday conversations. There are people he cares for, but in terms of him showing that he can be put down in a normal conversation with someone, do we see any body language giveaways? So, how does Robert Downey Jr. do it? Watch here as he shows tension in dealing with his emotion of attraction. Did you see him swallowing hard? Or where he's switching his lips as he realizes that he's been tricked? This is a point where Sherlock realizes that Watson is correct when he says that he will get married. The undefeatable Sherlock breaks eye contact to look down. Let's watch Cumberbatch in action. I'm sure you remember the famous Christmas scene, Sherlock boasting away as he deciphers Molly's soft corner for, well, himself. Here's a classic apology. Watch him rethink that he has made a mistake and hence him looking down apologetically. And if not all, he steps forward to apologize. His eyes flutter and he swallows hard before he says he's sorry. So the conclusion, who is the winner then? Cumberbatch gives us good variations here, but Robert Downey Jr. is more subtle and we like being subtle. So, Robert Downey Jr. it is. Does each Sherlock have a trademark missing in the other Sherlock? Let's see. The trademark of the Robert Downey Jr. movies seems to be that Sherlock is good at fighting, unlike the original Sherlock. So we often see him analyzing the fight moves of his adversary based on what he knows about them and what he observes in their body language. Another striking feature seems to be the dexterity with which Robert Downey Jr. takes on disguises. Now, although this makes his character more interesting, what we would have liked to see is that if he had shown the changes due to the disguise not just in his appearance and the larger body language details such as slouching, but in the more subtle ones, like his movements. What is noteworthy is that Robert Downey Jr. seldom changes his movements or walking speed, and that can be a big giveaway as to whom is behind the disguise. Here is Cumberbatch, playing Sherlock who mocks a lesser intellectual person. Here he is maintaining minimal eye contact while speaking directly with Anderson. Sherlock generally respects Irene, but when he reveals how she let her heart win over her mind, watch the forced smile and flash of disgust across his face. So, the conclusion to this. Each of them gets a tie point in this round, since each one of them have a characteristic style the other one doesn't possess. No matter how hard on emotions Sherlock is depicted to be, once the woman steps into the scene, we can even hear his heart beating, isn't it? The challenge for Sherlock to emerge winner in this round is whether he's subtle yet revealing that he likes Irene Adler. So, let's have a look. Apparently, Robert Downey Jr. does a poor job of it. Look at him checking her out from top to bottom as she dresses up and comes. Not something a typical Sherlock would be expected to do, isn't it? Cumberbatch's version should ideally remind you of the scene by the fireside, right? Well, there is a more interesting reveal earlier on. Take a look at this.
Is the new sexy?
This is a car. The position of the car relative to the hiker at the time of the backfire, and the fact that the death blow was to the back of the head, that's all you need to know.
This is what is non-verbally known as a gestural slip. When a person makes a mistake in saying something and then corrects himself. How many other times has Sherlock ever done this? Enough to indicate to a keen observer that the woman has an effect on him. So, the conclusion to this. Robert Downey Jr. clearly loses this round. Being as evident as he is, Sherlock wouldn't be this transparent. For most of us Sherlock fans, the death scene is an imminent part of the thrill of watching Sherlock. I'm sure you must have focused on how Sherlock's demeanor changes as he prepares to stage his death. But for our discussion, as body language hackers, let's discuss something more interesting. Through his body language in the final death scene, does Sherlock leave that one clue for Watson that dying is not really his idea? Which is why there could possibly be more than what meets Watson's eyes. So, what do you think? Well, here it is. Here is an expression of fear as Sherlock looks at Watson. Fear and on Sherlock is as usual. There is more. Look at how he closes his eyes just as he falls off the building. At this moment, we know Sherlock was fighting with Moriarty. While fighting, would he really close his eyes? Watson could, if he had observed, get a hint of what was coming. If Watson had put Sherlock's fear expression and closing of the eyes together, he would have gotten the hint that Sherlock was falling off with his eyes open. Pun intended. What does Cumberbatch do non-verbally to signal to Watson that he's probably staging this? Listen to these words.
I can't come down, so we'll just have to do it like this.
What we can realize is that Sherlock is repeating words. This fumbling could be a non-verbal clue that he's giving to Watson that something is not out of the ordinary here. As we know, Watson doesn't really believe that Sherlock has died, as he tells him this over his tombstone. So, who do you think wins this round? Let's not judge the Sherlocks this time. After all, it's time to give respect to the master detective who just fell off the roof. Putting the points of all the rounds together, can you guess who wins? So that's all for now. Wait, what? What about the chemistry between Sherlock and Watson? And the unsaid respect Sherlock seems to have with his adversaries? Well, those bits are for another story altogether, and we will be making dedicated videos on these aspects soon. Till then, a toast to all my Sherlock fans and a cheers to observations, my fellow body language hackers.